Greetings all, and thanks for tuning in for this Paranormal Pit Stop. Tonight, we'll be exploring a popular non-profit educational venue located off of Hagley Creek Road within Newcastle County out of Wilmington, Delaware, that spans more than 235 acres along the banks of Brandywine Creek, preserving what is actually the first DuPont family home and garden in the whole of the United States, and rumored to be wandered by a host of chilling spirits tied to its past. Are you sure you're ready to brave the history and hauntings of the iconic Hagley Museum? Historically, the aforementioned DuPont family is a prominent American power family descending from Pierre Samuel DuPont de Nemours, who lived from 1739 to 1817, and who, accompanied by his family in 1800, traveled to America in order to escape the French Revolution. Incidentally, the DuPonts would make a killing stateside, and from the mid-19th century and onward have been recognized as one of the richest families in the country. In 1795, one Jacob Broom would construct a cotton mill on the Brandywine, just to the north of Wilmington. In 1797, this mill was burned to the ground in a fire, and in 1802, Broom would sell the whole of the 95-acre property, complete with working mill and dam, to son of Pierre DuPont, one Eleuthère Irénée DuPont de Nemours, who would go on to establish an Eleutherian gunpowder mill, a family estate, and workers' quarters on site. Initially, this mill would operate by way of reworking damaged gunpowders and refining saltpeter for the US government. However, as the operation profited, it would quickly evolve to manufacturing gunpowder outright, and by 1813, the downstream Hagley property would also be acquired under the business, nearly doubling mill capacity and size. By the time the Civil War rolled around, E.I. DuPont de Nemours and Company's black powder factory had grown into the largest not just in the country, but on Earth. Unfortunately for the mill, through the 1910s and following the introduction of smokeless powder, operations would grind to a halt, and while business dealings on site would continue through World War I under request of the federal government itself, by 1921 the expanse would be closed down entirely, with direct members of the DuPont family managing the endeavor up to the very end. In 1952, 185 acres of land were donated from the DuPont family, while the DuPont Company would establish an endowment for the Eleutherian Mill Hagley Foundation, which was purposed in the creation and management of a museum of industrial history on site. In 1957, the Hagley Museum and Library would open its doors, and in 1966, the whole of the site was declared a National Historic Landmark. The Hagley Museum remains open into the present, offering a range of exhibits and demonstrations pertaining to the histories of the DuPont family and company, as well as to those of its employees and to numerous powder innovations. The site offers both outdoor and indoor exhibitions, along with viewings of its fully restored mills, workers' communities, and the original DuPont family home and attached gardens. Tragically, between 1802 and 1921, a total of 288 accidental explosions across powder factory grounds would result in the deaths of 228 people, which, when you break it down, is like an average of 2 or 3 fatal explosions a year, making for a pretty precarious work environment if you ask us. The 3 deadliest of such explosions occurred in 1818, in 1890, and in 1915, respectively. The first explosion would result in the deaths of 34 workers, the second, which occurred in the upper yard, in the deaths of 12 workers, and the third, which occurred in the packing house, in the deaths of another 30 workers. Notably, another larger explosion, which occurred in 1857, fatally injured 5 employees, including company partner and son to Eleuthère, Alexis Irénée DuPont. Not surprisingly, the whole of Hagley Museum grounds are rumored to harbor the many restless spirits of those killed in the site's numerous accidents, alongside the wandering souls of those tied to its bounds in lives since past. And those frequenting the expanse have reported objects sighted moving on their own, entire rooms or exhibits found rearranged and under impossible time frames, and encounters with shadowy figures that stalk the living at great lengths. A handful of visitors have described instances in which they detect orders in the chatter of men's voices heard on the winds, the commotion of machinery running, and the smells of gunpowder, fire smoke, or even food without source, as if some semblance of this old operation is still continuing to work from just beyond the veil. While several informal investigations of the area have yielded high EMF fluctuations, crystal clear EVPs, and odd malfunctions with well-maintained electronics. Some more disturbing accounts from Hagley tell of encounters with ghoulish manifestations bearing burned skin or other grievous wounds, or of run-ins with spectral children, phantom crying and the pitter-patter of little feet, and a range of full-bodied apparitions in clothing including everything from formal wear to work uniforms, and spanning the eras have been observed seemingly going about tasks from lives since spent. Also reported across the museum site are disembodied footsteps, voices, and screams, instances of doors opening and closing on their own, or of lights flickering on and off inexplicably, orbs and spook lights both visible to the naked eye and also captured in the backgrounds of photography and video, and the unnerving feelings of being watched, of being followed, or of being touched by a presence unseen. On a wonderfully dark closing note, the property also hosts a family cemetery, where burials actually continue into the present, and it's believed the Hagley Museum harbors the spirits of an unnamed number of workers and DuPont family members tied to its bounds, whether for better or for worse. Incidentally, the figure of a ghostly man believed to be that of Eluthier himself has been spied wandering the home and property, some say as he forever guards his family's legacy. Thanks for joining us on this Paranormal Pit Stop. If you enjoyed hearing our histories and ghost stories, subscribe to our channel, like this upload, and share us with anyone you feel deserves a good scare. We'll catch you all next time.